This conference will now be recorded.
This recording in progress.
All right, it's Monday, April 18th, 2022 at the Town Hall at 4058 County Road N, Cottage Grove at 7 p.m. We have a public information meeting for the proposed intergovernmental agreement with the City of Madison, establish a potential Madison expansion area.
There are some seats available up in front. Same fee.
Jim Neese.
Yes.
Registered, he's a resident, and against, did you have any questions?
I wanted to make a comment.
Okay,
Okay. The comment is living on Gala Way, aka Gala Heights. I think where the most populated area is what is listed in your map and plan is group section B, 25 homes maybe. Mostly second residents such as myself. I've been there 15 years. And communicating with many of my neighbors, and communicating with their neighbors, we're really against any form of annexation with Madison in any form. And most of us, if not all, have moved there in the first place to get away from that kind of large city environment. We like it out here. We want to keep it the way it is. We may not have all the amenities that you would in Madison, and it's worth that to us. We are strongly against any annexation in any form with the city of Madison. Leave us be with the township. That's what we came here for.
this agreement doesn't force any annexations anywhere. It's all driven by the property owner. If he wants to annex, that's up to him and the city.
I understand that, but I wanted to bring forth this opinion of a relatively large group of people. Not their official representative, of course,
Right.
but let's say I'm their unofficial representative, because I've talked to so many. And many of us have bonded together and have made the same decision. So I'm just emphasizing that this group of people there's nothing to do with this.
Well, during this agreement and come the end of the agreement, if you guys never ask for annexation, you'd still be in the town.
Okay.
Okay.
One thing that, as with many of these legal agreements, they're hard sometimes to fully understand. I'm retired, but my past history is in electronics, and I can read schematics and all this kind of stuff. Give me one of these agreements, excuse me. It's somewhat vague, especially when areas and plots are described. So that's another reason I'm here, is to actually hear what you just said.
Okay.
We all wanted to hear that on Gala Way.
Yep.
To resolve any of the tension.
And
which is considerable.
there's still no problem if you know, if you discuss with your neighbors that you don't want to annex, you don't have to annex. That's what we did with this agreement.
Okay, I'm not, yeah, please don't misunderstand that I'm against the agreement you're talking about necessarily. I'm disagreeing with the overall thought, if you will, of any form of annexation. I did not fully understand what you said, and I think many people don't see it that way. Because again, the wording for many of us in these agreements is very vague and complicated. So that's why I'm here, just to express our feelings and maybe to get, as you have done very well, clarify those areas for us.
Yeah, any annexation in that area A, if there is an annexation, it has to be unanimous.
Okay, this is B. We're in B.
You're in B, yes.
Yes.
Gala
We're in A?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then everyone's everything else.
But there again, you have to realize that this doesn't cover an agreement with McFarland or anybody else.
One hurdle at a time.
There you go. That's all we can do.
Landfill might slow them down.
Yeah.
Proposed.
Okay, that was my concern.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Next I have Richard Wood, town resident, wishes to speak in favor.
So that was for tomorrow night's meeting. I got my meetings crossed up. So I'll submit that tomorrow night.
Well, at least you're here now.
Yeah, I plan to come to both, but I think what you've written is pretty straightforward as far as limiting the annexation. It doesn't make it a free-for-all anymore, and it limits the city of Madison and what they can allow for annexation, which I think helps guard the citizens in that area. So the intention, I guess, is to not get overrun. And I think you're reaching that intention very well with this agreement to try and stave them off. Because annexation is voluntary. It's not eminent domain. And that's gets confusing for people when reading it.
Okay. Well, we'll see you tomorrow night then.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Bill Weber, wishes to speak against.
Yes, my name is Bill Weber. I live on Violet Oak Road. I hear this, but I do this every day. And I used to deal with development. And what this does is it opens the door. And I don't want the city of Madison across the street from me. When this came up 2 years ago, Chris, I called you because the very same day, there was a front page article in the Madison newspaper about Madison Alder wants to make declawing cats illegal. And all I could think about was how many problems Madison has. And that's what their Alder's going to focus on. And I don't want to be involved with those people. I build houses. I've never once had somebody come to me who 30 years ago, the union changed the city employees. The city employees didn't have to live in the city of Madison anymore. And man, did they move out. They didn't stay. I've never had one come to me and say, hey, can you build me a house again in the city of Madison? All the city employees, the firefighters, the police officers, they don't want to be there. There might be some, but they don't want to be in the city of Madison. And I don't want them across the road from me. And my third and final thing is, shoot, I just forgot it. Well, that's the big thing is nobody wants to be in Madison. And I read this as we're trying to limit the village of Cottage Grove and McFarland. And that's why we're making this agreement with Madison.
That's a joke.
I mean, I do like some things that Madison provides. I remember the third thing, 2 years ago, defund the police. I have very strong feelings about that. I have very strong feelings about what the leadership of Madison let happen downtown and how they supported defund the police. And I don't want them across the street from me. That's all I have to say.
Roger Bruns, town resident, registered against, didn't wish to speak. But is there anyone has questions that we can answer?
Whose idea was it to go to Madison? Who opened the door for that?
I asked them
Why?
because they're the one that will take hundreds of acres at a time in annexation because they've already taken all Blooming Grove.
But now I feel like you just opened the door for them to come in. Even more.
We didn't open the door for them. The door's always been there once they took Blooming Grove because they were right next to us. So if someone chose to annex, they would probably take it. They still can, but it's up to the landowner to decide with this agreement. we're saying that it has to be a unanimous annexation. They can't drag your neighbor in who didn't want to go, but 2 of the 3 neighbors wanted to go to Madison, the third one didn't, and you drug him in. This would prevent him from being drug into the city of Madison. It's still up to the landowner if he wants to annex or not.
So how does that work for sewer and all that? Do you have to,
If you choose to annex to the city, you're going to live by the city's rules, and yeah, you'll have sewer and water and
Sidewalks and everything.
Probably not right away, but you know,
High taxes.
Very high taxes.
yeah, your taxes are going to go up.
So I think you can say, already tell, we don't want this.
we don't need it.
Why didn't you ask the village or the city of Cottage Grove to annex that?
You think their taxes aren't high? They're a lot higher.
It's a lot better than
town.
paying X amount of money every month for supposable water runoff, for having a septic system, for having a well. Why do we have to pay that? Why should we have to?
You'd only pay that if you were annexed.
Okay, you say we're not gonna be annexed now.
Unless
Can
you
you-
decide.
Can you say that in 5 years?
40
Can you Say
years.
that in 10 years?
If this
No.
agreement is signed, it's good for up to
10 years.
40 years with a 10-year addition. It's always up to the landowner if he wants to annex to City of Madison or the Village of Cottage Grove or wherever.
so what happens if you have 2 neighbors that are annexed into it and the other one doesn't? What are they gonna do? Stop the sidewalk?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
That was part of the contention with the whole thing, was that the last meeting we had on this was, hey, can my neighbors drag me in with them into Madison? Madison finally went along with us and said, no, that's not gonna happen.
has to be unanimous.
It has to be unanimous.
Guys, I'm telling you, that's not how the real world works at
No,
these things with
okay.
the city of Madison. I'm just telling you, I understand what you're saying. When it comes down to it,
And we realize that, but it's only as good as the paper it's written on.
well, why write the paper? None of us need the paper.
Who's benefiting from this on the board?
I'm not saying that.
No,
No, for Christ.
none of us. None of us.
Really?
Someone in the back had their hand up.
So would that still be the case if the neighbors all annexed to the city and somebody was on an island? Would that person that's on an island would still not have to be annexed to the city?
Right.
Like Blooming Grove.
But what happened with Blooming Grove is that Madison took so much of Blooming Grove, and they had all these islands that were actually in Madison. And Blooming Grove just ran out of people, and they couldn't even control their government anymore. We're trying to stop that. It's a totally different thing that happened in Blooming Grove. And the town of Madison, same thing.
Why can't we go in the town of Madison?
Town of Madison, it's
Yeah.
on the west side.
It's gone.
It's done.
It's already been taken.
October.
What's the benefit of Madison signing this agreement? Because it obviously, I mean, you have so many people here that are against this, maybe a few people that want to sell bigger plots of land. What's the benefit of them signing this instead of deciding just to annex the whole lot of us? I feel like this section A is kind of like a sacrificial lamb. If we'll group this small group together, but as long as you leave the rest of us alone. It's like we're kind of the in-between area that, you see what I'm saying?
You're the closest piece to the city because of the border with Blooming Grove going away.
Correct.
Being
I'm
Madison.
about a quarter mile from that at the most.
Right.
But you don't have to annex. That's the whole point.
For how long though? That's how long does it last
30
for?
years.
No.
No, it won't
Yes,
last.
it is. 30-year agreement with an additional for 10 more.
No.
40 and 10 as of the 31st of December.
People could hodgepodge parcels here and there, say they want to be City of Madison, and they could be their own little islands out there.
You can only annex in if you're touching that border.
If the city wants to take you in that fashion.
So
No,
what
that's-
happens if there's like a big U that goes, these bigger properties that kind of go around us? And a farm, I'm on Vilas Hope Road.
Yeah,
Okay, whereabouts on Vilas? I'm just trying to picture it. Can you
I'm-
show me in that map up there?
Right down here. So we're about a quarter mile, eighth to a quarter mile from AB and Vilas Hope Road.
okay.
And so if you end up having, and I don't know where everybody sits as far as their where they are leaning towards, but say people around here decide that they want to do that, do we automatically get sucked in?
No,
No,
no.
no, you do
And
not.
can you show where that is written in here, that it has to be unanimous? I don't see that specifically in there.
On 3A, on page 2, about 8 lines down, it says Cottage Grove agrees not to oppose unanimous annexations to the annexations to Madison within the potential Madison expansion, nor will Cottage support or encourage annexations of land in that potential area. The Madison expansion area to any other municipality, notwithstanding the foregoing, Madison may annex land only by Madison. And then it gets sewer and water and
Annex east of that line for sewer and water though too.
Correct.
Yeah, east of what Madison can annex,
East of the.
east of the line.
East of the blue,
Yep.
the blue line, yeah,
Sewer and water.
exactly. They
But
can
you
annex
didn't
it.
say all your neighbors agree to it.
So every single property owner has to agree, otherwise
Yes.
it doesn't happen at all.
Correct.
100%.
Correct.
Everybody in zone A has to agree to it. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Majority.
That's just,
That's what you just said.
An area, a cohesive area has to go in. So if there's an area and there's 5 landowners and you're in the middle of them and you don't want to go in, that would stop the rest of them from going in.
but I think another way to put this is like Bill Paulson owns a bunch of land across from me that he tried to get developed. Now he has a way of getting it developed because he abuts Madison. He could get the sewer and Cottage Grove didn't let him, but now it becomes much easier for him to develop his 100 acres.
He could do that right, as soon as Madison is ready for him, he can do that right now, whether this agreement is in place or not.
Yeah, you can do it now.
Then let him. I just don't want this agreement.
This agreement doesn't change who can annex at all, other than the unanimous thing is better. And you were asking about what's in it for Madison. What they've said is that it gives them some surety of an area because it prevents the town from doing any big development there. So the town won't be able to do any new subdivisions or anything in that area. So they know that that area is going to stay mostly as it is today into the future. So when they are ready, when those landowners are ready to develop, there's not going to be a bunch of new development in there. It's a surety for them. That's what they'd say is the benefit to Madison.
Somebody raised a question of how long this is. It is through December 31, 2061. This agreement will automatically renew for one 10-year period to run through December 31, 2071.
Kyle.
Clarification, I guess, because in section 3 annexations, it says lands may be annexed to Madison under this agreement. Such annexations may create town islands. So it's still possible that a person could be surrounded by Madison with a township person in the center,
No.
according to this right here.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, according to the agreement.
Chose not to annex.
Yes. And then my question, which I don't understand, how could, or theoretically, how could the city of Madison, if they wanted to, before this is approved or not approved, annex our corridor? Can they just walk in and take it?
No, the landowners have to choose.
Okay, no matter what, then the town or the city of Madison could not forcibly take land from the town of Cottage Grove if the homeowner did not want to go.
You could be forced in currently. You know, if two of the three wanted to go and the third one didn't, those two could force the third one into the city.
Okay,
With this, they can't force that third one in.
and how is that determined? You know, use my property as an example. I've got 3 contiguous pieces, 2 of them which touch Violet's Hope. And let's say Bill, who's my neighbor, he wants to go in, and the next neighbor down wants to go in. How does that force me to go in?
It doesn't. It-
Well, under this agreement, it couldn't, but not under the agreement. I'm trying to find the benefit of this agreement.
That's what this agreement does.
You know, on your parcels, you don't have anybody living there.
Right.
So you don't get to vote. He gets to vote because he's living on the property. I'm not sure who the next one down is, but it's the voters in the last gubernatorial election that get to vote for that annexation then.
But I understand that part, but how does the city of Madison pick which parcels go? They just arbitrarily say, okay, for some reason we want these parcels, so therefore we're going to ask these homeowners that own this land, and if 2 out of the 3 say yes, the third one gets pulled in,
No.
as the term is currently.
No, it's currently, yes.
As it is currently, I'm being told yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Currently, yes.
Madison isn't gonna look to develop, a developer is.
Yeah.
And a developer is gonna go to Madison and say, I want to develop this land. Can I come into Madison because I'll be able to get more density and services? That's why lands get developed. It isn't Madison going out saying, we want this one and this one and this one, because if there's no developer, what could they do with it?
Although typically they say, we want this specific thing done in this area, so developers know that they can, all right, we're going to pursue this area because they've already come up with a preliminary plan for that.
yeah.
So typically the city starts it, and then the developer's following up, trying to get the landowner to sell it to them.
Right, they'll have a plan for it. And-
Right.
And it'll just be a matter of when and who comes along ready to do it.
There's someone over here.
Right. At the risk of being redundant, I think it's clear that not everybody understands fully the intent or the purpose of this particular agreement. Would it be possible for one of you or all of you to explain to us so that we have a clear understanding?
The purpose,
And intent, yeah.
the purpose is to have an idea as to where Madison, how far Madison can go. Rather than wondering, are they going to go all the way to N maybe?
Okay, so then I think what you're saying is the purpose is to come to an agreement with Madison
Where they'll grow.
to prevent them just going to N.
Correct.
You're giving them a potential agreement zone.
Where they can grow.
Right. But it would only, that zone would only go if it's unanimous.
If the annexation is unanimous, that's correct.
Yes.
And the benefit the town would only gets out of it is the area outside of B, anything outside of area B, A, B, that is within their ETJ would now not be under their ETJ jurisdiction.
Extraterritorial jurisdiction, that's what we're
So
dealing with. Yeah.
if you had 40 acres and you wanted to split it into 2 parcels or 3 parcels, town could say yes, the county could say yes, City of Madison, Mr. Parks can say no, and you can't split it.
It is A though. They're still gonna do ETJ. It says Madison agrees that will only exercise its extraterritorial review authority within Cottage Grove
A.
in the potential Madison expansion area. So anything outside of that, they're releasing from ETJ. So
And the big thing about it, the village of Cottage Grove has the ETJ coming west. And then Madison has it coming east. So they gotta come together with the village sometime to come up with a plan. But what's happening there? We've had plans from the village that almost takes over 20% of the town, and we stopped it totally. And that's what we're trying to do here with Madison. So they both have like miles coming in from both sides, and we can't do a thing about it. If somebody wants to annex, you annex. Like Shady Grove, you know where Shady Grove is? Right across from the post office where it's all being built right now. That used to be in the town. But a developer bought that farm and tried to develop it. And because they ran a little string across from the other side to make it part of the village, and it was disapproved by the state. So then Dr. Blair, who him and his wife got divorced, they talked to Dr. Blair, and he annexed into the village, making Shady Grove, able to build the houses there. And people fought this. We fought this big time. What did we end up? We couldn't do a thing about it. Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
And that's village now?
Yeah.
I'd like to expound on one thing that Chris said. The City of Madison's ETJ, excluding, we're not talking about the village now, extends out 3 miles from any border 360 degrees around the City of Madison, meaning that in any unincorporated areas around there, the City of Madison has a say in land use decisions. Be it legitimate or not, that's just the way the state statute is. Conversely, villages have 1.5 miles. So some point, as Mike said, city and village, they kind of overlap, and it's up to them to figure out where the line is going to be drawn. The advantage of this for the town is the fact that on the eastern edge of Area A and Area B, the city has decided that they would give up their ETJ review of any land division or land change use within the township, which would free up the town to plan on our own with our planning department to take a direction that we want to see the town go, rather than having the city potentially put their thumb out on it. As a matter of fact, currently it extends almost out to
North Star Road.
North Star Road to the south, just to give you an idea how far out it goes. All right. And so by having this agreement, that's probably the biggest advantage, is the fact that the town can plan to do what it wants, on its land for development. Whether we want to allow commercial or residential, farm, we don't want to do anything. It's totally up to us, excuse me. The Area A and Area B, that line that you see there was drawn by the City of Madison. It was nothing that the town had any say in whatsoever. As a matter of fact, we attempted to,
We did change it some.
we tried to shrink it down,
Yeah.
and the city said no. And so this is the way things are shown on the map, is currently how they are now. And as you heard from Christie, that the agreement runs for 30 years with a potential 10-year extension.
40.
Yeah, sorry. I was thinking that. Cold medicine. I'll chalk it up to that. But anyway, so that's the rationale behind that. And again, as Chris and Mike and several other board members have said, it allows the creation of islands so that those who do not want to annex because of some annexation that may occur around them, they don't have to be drug in. Plus the fact too is, there isn't truly, if you think about it, all the single family residences up and along and down Vilas Hope Road, there is no advantage if the city develops all the way out to the west edge of Vilas Hope, just for the sake of argument. There is no advantage for somebody on the east side in Area A or B to annex, because it won't get them anything. There's no advantage to do it, okay? And again, the if for some reason a property owner on the east side, I don't even know how big of property owners there are. There are some down toward the south that own some big parcels or larger parcels. If they were to go and choose to annex, that's where it would be. It would be these little fingers coming out from the west side of Violet Hope over to the east side. It wouldn't be the whole area A and B being sucked in, as somebody said. That's all.
So I don't know if you guys ever heard about what happened with Sprecher Road, when they put Sprecher Road in and the bills the landowners got for curb and gutter when they just did one side. So I mean, there's more than what they're saying. I've done this for decades and I see what happens. And I know you're not trying to do anything to mess with anybody. I know nobody's looking to benefit. Other than I do feel like this is a small area to cover the rest. And there are, if somebody does annex into Madison, there are potential costs that other people have to bear when they do road improvements and things like that.
I don't know. I guess I would disagree with that because of the fact, if you take a look at Sprecher Road as you approach TT, you'll see spots where there's curb and gutter, then it stops. Spots where there's curb and gutter and it stops. Spots where there's curb and gutter. The city will do that.
I don't think so. I think
Yeah,
you better.
if you take a look at,
There's that apartment before you get to 9094. It's
if
pretty
you go up
solid.
on the east side of the road I'm speaking of.
How do you run pipe underneath the water or underneath the ground? You just stop the pipe?
The east side of the road's all developed. It's the west side of the road where the people had the special assessments for hundreds of thousands of dollars
Because they
Per
own a
quarter
lot of
section.
land through there.
because they own a 40-acre parcel. And they're gonna have,
Sun Prairie too. Part of that road is Sun Prairie.
so,
But the thing is though, they did not have an agreement, so they were basically sucked in with everybody else around them. They didn't have the ability to have an island created, saving them, at least for a while anyway.
I think when they improve a road, I think those are automatic costs that go to all the homeowners, and they're not going to just approve or improve a road in the middle of Violet Hope Road. They're gonna work along there, and I mean, you know what, maybe this case is different from every other thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'll admit, I've done this long enough to know that nothing happens every time, but every single time, they don't just improve a 40-acre section in the middle of Violet Hope Road, put curb and gutter and.
Whoever thought Madison would be over the freeway? Nobody ever did. That Madison would be coming over the freeway.
I remember,
Who ever thought that?
I remember, everybody thought they would when Update did Richmond.
I mean, I remember when they built that last sewer addition at the end of Gaston Road, for God's sakes. It's just life. Life changes.
The village and Madison are incorporated. We are unincorporated and we can't incorporate. We're a town.
We don't
They have the
that
power.
option.
So we're trying to do the best we can to save that side of the town as long as we can do it. And it's up to the property owner if they want to take their land and put it into the village. But you have to be touching, or into Madison. You have to be touching Madison's boundaries to do that. You can't be two sections of land away and think you can annex in. You can't.
Then even if you are touching, doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna get.
You don't have to.
They don't have to take.
No.
That's right.
You know, I can't help it but think this is a blessing for Cottage Grove. I mean, Madison, as big as they are, could say, okay, we're gonna do this, boom, and they can do it. You know, you guys are trying to give us an option, you know, that we could accept it or not accept it. I mean, a choice that we have. And I can't understand where we can't see that this is a blessing for people. If you're in that area, you can choose to do this or choose to do that, and you can have an option. And I think it's not a wise thing to say that everybody who Madison Fire Department, Madison Police, they all want to get out of the city. All of them. I mean, who guarantees that? So I just, I just wanted to say that, that I think you guys are doing a hell of a job to try to protect what we have here in Cottage Grove and give people an option to do it or not to do it.
Based on how you explained it, what's the probability of this City of Madison actually accepting and signing up on this particular
The city plan commission voted to approve it last week, and tomorrow night the city council is supposed to vote on it. And the planning staff told me that they would approve it. Now, I won't know that until the following morning, but that was what their impression was. Seeing how their plan commission said it was okay, they figured the council's gonna follow.
Yeah. I just have a question that has to do with the long-term plan of Milwaukee Street joining Gaston Road. Is that still existing? And does that have any impact on this? Because, down by Mark's and Kelsey's, it's a turn, but I'm not quite sure how far Milwaukee Street is at this point. But I know the long-term plan was to make that a service road. And is that, what's just going to stop at the blue line if they?
I guess I don't know what they're.
Yeah, and that,
But the
that's
problem
a,
is that you gotta look at where they developed the sewer already. They developed the sewer down to the corner of Gaston Road.
yes, I know that.
So, I mean, that's.
Yeah, the only,
All the way to the town line.
uh-huh,
Doesn't stop there.
yeah.
It's all the way underneath Gas Road, underneath the interstate, all the way to the town line.
Mhm.
So don't say that stops there because it doesn't.
Okay.
I'm just telling you.
That's the last.
That's been there 20 years.
That was factual.
Mhm.
That's been there 20 years.
Right. I didn't
Yeah.
say anything that, I'm just telling you where it stops.
Mhm. And I don't know, but I know that obviously being on Gaston Road and anticipating a 4-lane highway or something along there as a service road is not what I really would
You gotta
like.
remember, you're in the village.
Half of me is in the village and the other part is in the town, Mike.
Just telling ya.
Come on.
Just telling ya.
Our buildings are on the village, but there's 27 acres
I think
across the
as of right
road.
now,
and
that has just sort of been
Yeah,
stopped totally. And
okay.
because if you go across Milwaukee Street now, it's all
They've got
20, 30
development
units
going
and
on.
just crazy.
Mhm. So obviously that is sort of an aside, but it's still part of it's in the blue zone and part of it isn't.
Yeah.
And the sewer is out to Kelsey's corner, Kelsey and Mark's corner.
Village person,
Huh?
village person.
Michael. He does this at church too, so.
They actually are right by the new school there.
So that is, I just was wondering if the roads have anything that might negate some of this at some point, and it probably won't.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they're still
All right.
trying to figure out how to navigate the
And-
wetlands.
I guess a couple things. Number one, what is the definition of a principal structure? Is it just considered the one home as one principal structure? An outbuilding, does that count for anything?
I think principal structure is the house.
Yeah.
Then it's others.
Okay, then the only thing I see that possibly we could be losing out of this is I don't remember ever the contiguous aspect with 2 RDU units and somebody wanted to sell off a couple acres to put a home on. They're not going to be allowed to do that now because the city of Madison has to say whether or not a new parcel is created, according to the way this is worded.
Say that again. You have an RDU and you want to sell it?
No,
You want to use it?
I want to use it and I want to sell it to my brother-in-law a couple acres to build a home on my 40 acres.
But you can do that right now.
but it has to be contiguous if I have a home on the other 40 acres. They're saying they won't allow anything to be developed 5 acres, and they have to be touching to have 2 homes.
We would, the town plan says we want homes to be contiguous.
Right, but before I could sell the land and an RDU unit, 2 separate sales, and then he would have a lot that would be buildable if you guys said it's a buildable lot. I could have sold him 20 acres or 30 acres. But according to this agreement, you can't. Any 2 homes that are built have to be contiguous. So if you have an existing home and you want to sell a parcel, that 2 acres, a parcel that according to this and you has to touch the other parcel. They have to fall within a 5, according to this, a 5 acre.
If you have 5 acres or more,
Mhm.
you could, and you have an RDU, you could build another home if you already had a home on that parcel.
Okay,
If you didn't have a home on the parcel, you could build 2 homes if you had the 2 RDUs.
right. But they would still have to fall within the 5 acres and or contiguous.
Not the 5 acres
That's the lowest amount.
is the lowest amount. You
That's
wouldn't,
all that means.
Okay.
yeah, you wouldn't have had an RDU if you only had 5 acres.
Yes.
Okay, then my last one, it states about the deed restrictions for the benefit of Madison for the leftover acreage.
Right. Right now, when you use your RDU, we deed restrict the rest of the land for no future development, naming the town and the county.
Mhm.
Now, in that area, we would name the city.
But the zoning would stay what it was previous in ag, it's gonna stay ag.
Yes. Because now the way it works, the town and the county have it, but once the land is annexed, that deed restriction goes away. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Romy.
Chris, how do you get around this bit of having islands? In other words, in most instances, you can't have an island.
Right.
Town of Madison did it.
But we've developed it so that if your neighbors don't want to annex, you don't have to annex.
I realize that, but it's always been that you couldn't create an island. And that's null and void now. You can create an island.
We're saying that you can in that area.
No. I thought that was a law beyond you and City of Madison. Because they wanted to prevent what happened in town of Madison and Blooming Grove. Because that was all patchwork there. One part was city and one part was not city, town of Madison. And they wanted to eliminate that.
But what happened there, they ran out of tax base. They ran out of people. They ran out of everything to keep Blooming Grove going. That's why the whole thing got annexed into Madison over a period of time. And it was a terrible situation. We're trying to stop that from happening.
We had heard before in an earlier meeting that there could not be islands.
Correct. Yeah, I heard that too.
Well, that was Madison.
Well,
No, that was when this was first brought up.
That was at the first meeting, yeah.
And we heard people say they didn't want to be dragged in. And we heard that and we listened and we put it into this agreement. It changed. You are right. You did hear that before, but we responded to what you said. And that's why now you can have islands.
But I don't know what I'll hear at the next meeting.
No, this is it.
This is it.
It's just, it is what it is.
We try to take what happened at the other meetings and put in this so people would be happy. And that was the biggest thing. Can I be dragged in to Madison with other annexations? Then we told Madison, no, we were not gonna do anything with this until that was taken care of. And finally, Madison said, okay.
But does Madison have the authority to agree with?
So do we.
Does it exceed them, creating islands?
We have the authority, once this is signed by both Madison and Cottage Grove.
And there's still no guarantee that they want to create an island. They don't have to take the annexation.
Yeah, see, that's what people think. Just because you say, I want to annex into Madison, Madison doesn't have to take you. The village doesn't have to take annexations either. Although it seems like most often they always do.
Yeah.
Clarification though, so let's say across the street from me on Vilas, it's Madison. If sewer water for Madison, they can annex east of that line though for sewer and water, correct? So let's say Vilas Hope, so where Bill Weber's at. So let's say that guy wants that farm subdivision, and say the sewer now has to go down across that Gala or whatever. If that's Madison across the street, Madison can go east for sewer and water only, right? Annex is what I read it. And
Here's the big problem. Sewer and water costs millions of dollars. Madison is just not gonna come out and put sewer and water in when where there's 10 houses or 20 houses. They're not gonna do it.
for their,
It costs millions of dollars to run sewer and water.
Madison may annex land owned by Madison to the east of the annexation line, if the lands are needed to provide the potential Madison expansion area with sanitary sewer.
I think
And
the
that's
key
probably
word is,
if they need a pumping station.
They put that sewer down to the end of Gaston 20 years ago.
Yeah.
How many millions did that cost? So they are gonna do it. They did it 20 years ago.
But that's a sewer district. That's a little
I
different
think
than that.
Madison,
So I just,
there's no water there, it's just sewer. Right, that's half of the millions that they just spent.
I think you answered your own question in the first part of that statement you read. Didn't it say lands owned by Madison?
yeah, but if it's across the street and if they
They're
have to
not
go
owned
east,
by Madison.
all right, that's my question is,
Yes,
can,
lands owned by Madison.
so, because that was my
And-
confusion, whether, since I'm Cottage Grove, can they come across and, you know,
No,
annex?
no.
That's just-
I'm just saying, a simple answer, no.
I think when they talked about that, they were talking more along the creek, and like if they had development that was on the east side of Vilas Hope, they've always talked about the reason that they picked Door Creek as their line is because it would be a good place to put sewer or water lines someday.
Later, yeah.
Someday, when the development got all the way out there. And so then they would have to buy some land on the east edge of this. And that to their pumping station or whatever it might be. That's what was talked about, not using, residential land for that.
So how does that work for the fire service? So say if half the block is Madison, they can have like, oh, Bill Weber's in Madison, so when he calls, Madison shows up. I'm right down the road. I call, Cottage Grove shows up, and I'm not in. How does that work?
It's Dane County.
So that's how it's gonna work?
You got the fire chief right behind you. Ask him.
Yes.
Responder.
Somebody's gonna respond.
Yeah, the quickest you know about just that doesn't make sense.
It shouldn't, but you shouldn't care who responds as long as somebody responds, right?
No, I get that 100%, but I was just asking, because then are they, I don't know.
They work together,
Yeah.
mutual aid.
No, I get that. I was on the
Just
fire
tell
service.
911
You were,
yeah.
where you're at.
Yeah, but I've called the 911 in Madison for school bus runnings, and I've been transferred. I've called the town of Cottage Grove, and they're like, nope, that's not my district. It's Madison, City of Madison,
You
because
drive by?
I'm on AB. And I'm like, wait a second. It's like nobody wants to take my call. So if that's how it's gonna be with the fire department, I'm like, you've got to make sure. I
You
mean,
call 911 when you call the fire department at Dane County.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so.
I've
they
called
respond
911 for
And then they
the
switch you over. to the
buses
city.
too. And
For the buses, what do you mean, ma'am?
for the buses, when people run the school bus and I turn them in,
Oh.
because I do it daily,
And the township just.
and I get transferred to the city.
Yeah, because it's.
You're the sheriff's department.
On AB, anything, what would that be?
We're on the west or the,
Southbound traffic. is
East
gonna be
side.
City, northbound is gonna be county, so that's why it depends on where the
yeah,
car is.
well, it's always southbound.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing that they do. They take half the road.
Right.
Why can't one jurisdiction take the whole damn road and be done with it?
They did that.
That's one thing with Vilas is you,
That's
instead of going half the road, you know.
How's the jurisdiction gonna be with this? You know?
Does this agreement, it talks about, the town of or the city of McFarland and Cottage Grove? Does this, if you sign this agreement, does that keep them from, yeah, you're already shaking your head, you know what I'm asking? Does it keep them from potentially annexing us, or what's the?
Your question is as good as mine.
No.
It doesn't affect anything with the village of McFarland.
It just says that you can't actively seek out talking with them, essentially.
Without telling Madison that we're.
Right.
asking them for-
They'll break in the agreement of some sort.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hypothetically, if this gets approved, and take a look on the far north side of the blue shade area where Mark's farm is and Kelsey that Peggy was just talking about, that's owned by McAllister. Everybody know where I'm located? McAllen, sorry, McAllen.
Yeah, Callan, yeah.
Okay, so according to this agreement, if McAllen, who now is touching the city of Madison, right, and he's also touching the village, so he's in a pretty good negotiation whether he wants to go village or city of Madison. If he wants to go city of Madison, you're saying with this agreement, he cannot go into the city of Madison for what, 40 years plus additional 10. Is that correct?
No, whenever he wants to annex and he petitions.
No, you said anything east of this line, he cannot be annexed.
McAllen is not in Area A. He's
East of the property line.
He cannot.
It's a white.
So anybody that's
Just as
touching this
Sonia
blue
said,
right
yeah.
edge cannot go into Madison for 40 years.
Madison had said they're not going to cross that line for 50 years.
Right.
So
What if they
no,
want to?
they don't want to annex anybody to the east of that line.
They'll go into the village.
They would go into the village if they
If
wanted.
they're
That's
touching
their only
the
choice.
village.
Yeah.
Can you legally do that? What if McAllen says, I want to go to the city
He
of Madison?
doesn't touch the city of Madison.
He will have to have a say.
Because he doesn't,
And if Mark's annex, he will.
Yeah, he's got to annex
If
first.
Mark's annexed.
He's got to annex
Yeah,
first.
and he will. So I'm saying, you're putting a limit on him that he, for 4 years, he can't annex if he wants to.
the city of Madison, correct.
Legally, you can do that.
It's one of the few legal options that we have.
Excuse me, it won't prevent him from petitioning for annexation. The city of Madison can simply say, no, we have an agreement with the town of Cottage Grove saying that we will not take any lands, east of that blue line.
It's a slippery slope.
Any other questions?
I'd rather have, in this particular case, I'd rather have that potential roadblock there rather than no roadblock.
If you own that property, you might feel differently.
Well, it's up to the property owner.
No, it's not. You just said he can't.
If he's not touching, he can't.
He's gonna touch. That's gonna get annexed. That,
If
what's
the
gonna
Mark's,
happen.
you're saying if the Mark's property gets annexed, then he could.
No, you can't.
But you're saying he can't for
But
40
the-
years.
He's on the other side of the blue line.
Oh, other side of the blue line. No, no, you can't.
Right. If you own that property, you gonna like that?
Madison's not interested in taking it though.
Were any of those property owners invited to this meeting, or was it only the people, according to Kim, only people that got that postcard were in this blue section? Don't you think their lives are kind of at risk?
Yeah, it's been in the paper, in the Madison
No,
paper.
because Madison is, what they're saying is they're not interested in anything east of that line. They don't want to annex it for 50 years.
I think they're interested in that. But you
We
came up
did
with a
get,
boundary.
yeah, we did get a postcard, and our property and our daughter's property is on the east side of that blue line. So, we did. So I'm not,
Are there any exceptions? So if you get to there before the 50 years, and right now you agreed to this, if the people on the east side of that line and the other one in best interest, can you change on a case-by-case basis if both the town and Madison do agree on certain sites or
Yes.
land?
There is a provision in here
I thought I read
for
something. So that would fix something unique like that.
It just says this agreement may be amended only by the written agreement of both of the parties hereto.
Number 8. So if Madison and the town agree
They can do an amendment.
to an amendment
So
that
that would take
changed
it,
something,
they both
yes.
agree to figure it out. They can do an amendment as long as both can do it. Like, I would think they could amend the line.
We go through the same thing we're going through right now.
Anything else?
I have a little more simpler, basic question, I think here. Thank you. You're talking about border lines and always reference to Vilas Hope Road, east or west of Vilas Hope Road.
Basically.
Vilas Hope Road also runs east and west. For instance, Gale Heights, which I am here for, if you will, would be south of Vilas Hope Road. So there's some question on how this would affect that as well. That is only my question.
If you see the map, it follows basically Vilas Hope Road down to.
Yeah, I've seen the map in the blue area.
The railroad tracks, it goes north, 240s to the east.
Right. Yeah, you make the left-hand turn by, it used to be, the factory used to build synthetic marble. You make the left-hand turn to the north, coming from up that road. So,
Gateway is north-south.
yes, I know. So, I'm somewhat apprehensive on where that area then stands. Again, we're not east or west of that line. Even though you have the blue border, I understand that.
But you've got to also admit that, all you guys have sewer and water and septic tanks. Madison is not going to want to deal with that nonsense.
We don't have sewer and water.
They'll just charge you.
Got private.
Private
We got well and septic, yeah.
We have nothing, which is just the way we want to keep it.
Yeah.
I think, especially, I just want to comment when we signed in here and we wanted to speak and we checked off whether we're for or against. At least in my case, and I think this is for most of the people who are against the expansion of Madison into this area, not necessarily this agreement, the overall expansion, and that's what.
And this is the only way that we have any real say so in stopping your movement east.
One last comment. If this does not go through, Madison is not going to be the loser.
No.
Madison can turn around tomorrow and say, I'm gonna take your land. I'm gonna annex it into the city of Madison. They can do that without asking you, come hell or high water. They can decide to do that. This is a favor that Madison is offering Cottage Grove to do something about protecting their land. And, and the last meeting that I was at where people were complaining about getting swallowed up because their neighbor got, and you guys fixed that, went to Madison, and Madison bowed to that and said they would go ahead and along with that. So what is it about this that we would lose by doing this? There's nothing that Cottage Grove can lose by doing this. We can lose by not doing it because they could care less. They're doing Cottage Grove a favor by doing this.
They're the big ones in the room.
Just one quick question. I get everything, but I agree with everyone wants to preserve the characteristics of the township. And is there anything being done from the village standpoint or, or not?
The only thing the village wants is the entire township.
That's not funny.
I'm not happy with their planning right now.
I'm not laughing funny wise.
Their planning is very poor. Very poor.
I would agree with you and.
Especially what's going up on bus and
Try to
BB
talk
and
to
Shady
them.
Oak. So,
Other than giving it all to them,
I know,
I
but
didn't want to talk to them.
So the village jumped across on Bus Road. They jumped over. And I was told that they can't go past the center line of Bus Road. But they did.
How did they do it? I mean,
It
what?
shows right here.
Pipes down or something?
It shows right up there on top.
It's
that,
because the
They
landowner.
jump over, they take 40-acre field there.
yeah, landowner wanted to annex it in, so they annexed it. Yeah.
I can't believe these people. What are you gonna do?
You gotta remember that the people on Bus Road own to the center of the road.
Yeah.
And then when the east side sold,
Yep.
then Madison owned to the center of the road, and the property owners in the, each individual owned to the center of the road. That was a big fight. I don't know if you guys went through that with us. We fought that over and over again about trying to get some money or something for the, from the village for those property owners.
All this land.
We've been annexed. The only people that have annexed us all these years is the village of Cottage Grove.
Yeah, McFarland.
Except there's now, let me finish. Except now there's one annexation of a farm down by Single Cow. So, you know, we're fighting from all sides, basically.
Well, the deal with Blooming Grove loses so much land is, I know this very well.
Yes.
The Cirico was town chairman and sold out, sold his land behind Blooming Grove's back, and he was town chairman. And he sold all that land, and that's how.
Yeah, but there's.
That was a big-
Blooming
that was a
Grove
big part of
lost
it.
all, a lot of their land.
There's nothing we can do about that.
No, I'm just saying about Blooming Grove.
Yeah, but like I
That's how
said,
that
they ran out of population. They couldn't afford their government. They had no choice. They had to go.
They couldn't afford the roads, they couldn't afford anything.
Anything else?
What is in place then when it comes to the village and the town? What's the town doing to try to prevent? I mean,
That's a good,
what are the
that's a
options?
good point, because we haven't done anything with the village whatsoever.
Okay,
They won't, well, they gave us a plan. Christ, it was taking over half the township, for God's sakes.
All of it, really.
All of it.
All of it.
So,
We're 36 square miles. The village is about 2 miles square or 3 miles square. And they got power, you know, and
The state
so
government gives.
is the pecking order like cities, villages, towns?
yeah, basically.
There you go.
Yeah.
what I would hope is if this gets approved by the town and the city, that the city will then go talk to the village. And we'll get drug in with that, and between the three of us, draw where the village is then going to grow. That's a hope.
Good luck.
It's terrible right now to be on the border. I'm right by the sign that says welcome to Cottage Grove on BB. I bought a little building down in front of my house. I had to get approval from the town. I had to get approval from Dane County. I had to get approval from Madison, approval from the village to buy 0.8 acres of land. And I'm right on the border. Artie is right across the street from me. And we're trying to stop both of them from grabbing anything more. I'm gonna live to 105, and I'm not gonna annex in the village.
Good for you. Good for you.
My neighbor either, so.
Well, if there's nothing else, I would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Do you want to hear any from any of the comments?
I forgot about that.
They're always the silent people in the back. Does anybody that's online want to speak?
want to protect. You know, what you got, right of the people.
We don't even have internet service.
Okay.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Williams, second by Fonder to close the public hearing.
I just unmuted the phone people because I'm not sure they don't, I think that they're just talking.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Cottage Grove Town Board will hold a public meeting immediately following the public information hearing. We have a quorum present. The meeting was posted at the town hall and on the website. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll stand for the flag pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Minutes of the board meeting.
Second.
Motion by Williams, second by Duplay to approve the minutes for each board as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Bill. We got a payment from Dane County for
Whatever.
Hey, neighbors. There's a typo in well, we're gonna be approving land owned by Madison to the east. Cottage Grove.
Yeah. Was this,
Madison annexed land owned by Madison.
were these all the road signs that we had to buy?
This year, yep.
Yep.
How can they land, how can they annex land Madison?
That's why they're so expensive.
Kim, is the telephone expense $49.96? Is that for emergency government? Is that fire department? Is it, we pay for
That's not a.
one line over there?
That's emergency government.
Thanks for help.
Yep.
What's that for that?
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm looking at the one on page 4. It says Cottage Grove Fire Department.
Yeah, those are all fire departments, but it didn't make it to this one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got it. It's on page 3.
The elevators, again.
There's a way down. Oh, cell phones, okay.
So a Frontier bill that comes monthly that is one line, and it just wasn't on the same cycle.
Okay.
I'll move approval of checks 35,401 through 35,429 be paid.
Motion by Duplay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Anders to approve checks 35,401 through 35,429 be paid. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. You also have in your packet the unaudited cash and investment balance of $2,796,784.22. And then you have the March building permits.
Motion to approve the March building permits as presented.
Motion by Anders. Is there a second?
Second.
second by Williams to approve the March building permits as presented. Any discussion?
$913,000. That's
For what?
Any other discussion?
What was that?
The cost of the house. On Scarston.
Oh, okay. Can't be going there.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Then you have the April court docket. All they did. And you want them by the 28th? 4/28. Anything else? No. Okay. Public concerns, public's opportunity to speak to the town board about any subject that is not a specific agenda item. Anyone online? Hearing none. Any road right-of-way permits?
We got 4.
Wow.
Springtime.
Yeah.
First 3 are charter. They're just updating. So first 2 gas and circle areas, just they're running a new line. This one's Vilas Road, same thing. We're gonna be replacing a bunch of pre-existing stuff. Yeah. Then I got one for Line Energy, and this is the directional drill and plow in new power down here off of BB. They're gonna go down Meyer, they're gonna go into Kennedy, and they're gonna go into Baxter. So most of the work's on County BB, but I can send you the PDF for it if you want. It's quite lengthy. They're putting in the 3-inch stuff there. And they're gonna take, I believe they're taking all your poles down off of Meyer. The way I read it, so the poles will no longer be there.
Okay.
Motion to approve the Charter Communications and the Alliant Energy WPNL right-of-way permits.
Motion by Anders, second by Duplay to approve the road right-of-way permits for Charter and Alliant Energy. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Review the March police activities.
I did not get a monthly report, so.
Come on up and introduce yourself. John.
Jacob.
Jacob.
I'm Jake. I'll be your evening town deputy.
We call it Josh, right?
Josh. Jake from State Farm, so.
There you go.
I've got no stats. They didn't send me any, so. Just use the new guy card and I don't have any information for you.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background, what you've done before you came to the town?
I was at the regional airport for a while doing security there with the county. They're contracted there as well. And then before that, I was the first deputy for Village of Brooklyn when their board dissolved the police and we were there. So I was there while they were training the other deputy that was selected for that spot.
I think that's why we hired you, because you have been used to working with a small town.
Yep. And then before that, I was in the jail.
So how many speeding tickets have you issued?
I would do at least 1 or 2 a shift. I'm talking about the bus. I will literally follow buses around. I haven't gotten anyone that has thrown the reds yet, so.
Okay. Welcome aboard. Moving on, discuss, consider approval of the intergovernmental agreement establishing a potential Madison expansion area.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Fonger, second by Duplay to approve the intergovernmental agreement establishing a potential Madison expansion area. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye. 4-1.
4-1. Anders again. Motion carried. Do you mind if I skip down and do the certified survey map next?
Sure.
I was gonna suggest that.
Are you sure?
Be okay with that too.
Okay, we'll do that then.
Thanks.
You have the CSM dated 3/28 of 22, drawing 5856-22. Really created lot 3. Lot 2 is the existing buildings and lot 1 is the farmland.
It's
Wetland?
actually 4 lots. That 4th lot too is farmland.
1, 2, 3.
4 is at the
Look right down the lower.
bottom
bottom.
corner there. To the east of lot 3.
Oh,
Sorry.
yes. Okay.
I'll move approval.
Chris, if you flip it over, it's easier to see the.
Oh, yeah. Motion by Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Anders. The motion was to approve CSM dated 3/28/22, drawing 5856-22. Any discussion on that motion to approve? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Going back to C, then discuss considering borrowing needs for capital purchases.
Wait, yes, you have a question.
I just got one question, so I don't have to bother anybody again. So this has to be signed after the county approves it. Who signs it? Kim?
Kim.
All right.
Come in some
Makes it
morning
simple.
and she's able to do it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. We were at C, discuss consider borrowing needs for capital purchases and projects. So we heard back from Ellers this week that the rates had gone up too much already. That they did not recommend a sale in June. They suggested going to the state trust fund, which is at 4%. Deb has contacted
The bank, they could offer a fixed rate at 2.65 for 10 years, the bank. And one of my concerns was the amount, you don't need it all right now. And so I talked to her about that, and she said there's an option that we could just take what we need at the time. We're guaranteed whatever you guys agree on, but as we need it, we could draw. It'd be a draw. We still have our yearly payments in March. But we'd only pay for what we borrowed. So if
and
we
the
do the 1
interest rate would
million.
stay the same through
Yeah.
the life of it.
So as long as that qualifies
That's
with
a
the
good
levy, that we could still put it on the levy. You have to look into that.
Well, researching some things that, we have the $400,000 in ARPA funds that the possibility we could reimburse the town for the $255,000. And that's in the way the fire department did it. They did have 3 bids, and we'd still have 155 or 150,000 to do whatever else we need to do.
Say it again.
Then we take and reverse, we've already paid for the 250,000.
Right.
And we reimburse ourselves from the ARPA funds to pay for that. Into our budget, back into our budget.
The Pierce pumper.
Yeah.
You're talking about.
E3, yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't know if she can talk a little bit about that or whatever. I don't think we know for positive if we can do it, but they're,
Yeah, I definitely need to look into how this needs to be reported and.
but we did look into the fire department. The way it was done looks like it, to use ARPA funds, it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Because they did get bids. It wasn't like going out and saying, hey, that's it, we're gonna use this company. So I think he's still there, so.
Yeah, we had 3 bids.
Yeah, you had 3 bids and that's,
Engine, it was Custom Fire, Reliant, Pierce, and Rosenbauer.
right.
Third one. So,
I think that's the logical way to do it. We've been looking at how to spend that money and what could be more appropriate. And then we've got the money back in our budget to, do what's necessary. We don't have to borrow that money. So I don't know what you all think. And then of course the other long-term for fire trucks, we don't need that money for a while. And then I'd like to talk about the $500,000 for Nesbitt. I've been out, I have researched this quite a bit with Wade, who's on there, and about what's it look like for them to do anything with their land for a while, and they have no plans right now. And the conclusion that I have is that that's a developer's responsibility. I don't think it's bad that we look into it to see what it would cost, to develop what we could do there. But we sit right now with a plan that's still, I know you were waiting till this thing we just voted on, extraterritorial move there, because you thought that probably what would happen is if we didn't get this done, that Madison could stop us out there. So we don't even have a plan that's been approved yet here. It's still at the planning commission.
But I agree with you is that we don't have to borrow it all right now.
No, but if somebody's gonna develop that land, it should be the developer that pays the money to have that center, whatever you call it, put in. It should not be up, if I was the Kennedy Hills developer and I found out that we did this for that spot there, when we don't own the land or anything, and we made him fix the entire road down there, then it's not right. Period. It's not right.
We didn't make him fix the entire road.
What, everything on the corner he fixed.
Dane County.
He paid for it, right?
Dane County made him fix the intersections.
Not Kennedy Road, I'm saying on the corner of BB.
The access
He
point.
paid for that.
Yes.
And there's no reason why a developer, once that's gonna be developed down there, should pay for it. We should not be taking taxpayer money to pay for it.
And at the time that you have a developer come through and willing to do it because you have that access point in there, that's when you charge it back to them.
You charge, why would we even do it then? Why don't we do it then?
Because you may not get it done then.
We have no plan right now that we're
We
even.
have a plan in the.
Have we approved it here?
Yes,
We approved it here
Yes,
2 years ago,
for that development
yes.
that whole
with the,
area.
That plan has never been approved.
it was never
In the
approved.
comp plan,
No.
It's not adopted. It
Not true.
was discussed a couple of years ago, but it won't be formally adopted until the comp plan update is adopted. That concept plan is still,
I thought we put that
It's a
in 2 years ago when we updated it the last
we
time.
didn't, no, it's not in there.
I would back myself and even looked. There's nothing that's ever been approved. So you guys been dealing with a plan out there, even for the guy that wants to put in the boat areas, telling him that we can't move a road out there and he's supposed to give us land on his property that he owns. I can't understand it, honest to God.
What's the difference between?
We don't have a plan.
My question, Mike, isn't that. He says, what you call it on Kennedy subdivision, he owned that entire acreage. Okay, he had to give us land for roads.
Fine. After he put them in, right?
No, he had to put them in.
Of course. If there's a development put out there, we're not gonna build the roads. Whoever develops that land's gonna build the roads. And there's nothing to stop moving that road south a little bit even. Rather than screwing around with this guy all this time. The road that we want to put in right by the edge of his property. Why can't it be moved south a little? I don't even want to talk about that right now. I'm talking about the $500,000 that taxpayers are gonna put up for a road that is not gonna be put in for a long period of time. It's not right.
Because if you don't have it there, what developer is ever going to look at that property for development?
Wonder if
Because you don't have access.
Houston's owned that property, we don't own it.
True, they aren't gonna have access for commercial development.
What do you mean?
They got a farm access there.
And you think that can't be changed?
Oh, the county will make them change it.
Yeah,
Of course they will.
and they'll have to put the road in.
And they'll have to do it, and they'll have to put the access onto the end also.
If the county allows it at
Well-
that point in time.
So you
Guarantee
think,
me that in 5 years, the county will give me that access.
we're not giving it to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll give it to
To
the
the town.
developer. If he wants to do commercial there and they want to rezone it, they'll give it to him. I don't want to pay for it as a taxpayer.
This makes no sense. We're looking to put all this money into something that we can't even guarantee what's gonna happen down there. You can't either. And just because we put an access in doesn't mean that that's actually where somebody really wanted it. That's your opinion.
That's where we will.
No,
walk the
that's
line.
your opinion.
Where would you put the road, Mike?
Nothing has been approved.
Where would you put the road?
I don't care right now.
Because you can't think past the end of your
Yeah,
nose.
I can, because it's taxpayer money. It's not your money. You got a little part of that like the rest of us do.
That's right.
We don't spend money for what's gonna happen 5 years from now. Somebody else is gonna develop that road if they want it there.
Anything going in.
And it's on Highway N. So we should not be spending money that we don't need right now. And of course, the bonding thing fell through. I mean, if we need to get the money in 2 years, 3 years from now, fine, we do it then.
When the interest rate's
Well-
8%.
Do you know that?
I'm asking you.
Well, you don't know that.
You?
You can't depend on what may happen in the future. We are a town. We can't be buying things that we're gonna need or pay for 3 years from now or whatever, 3 or 4 years. What's even the fire truck? We're looking for money for. When are we gonna get the fire truck?
22 to 23 months
Okay, and you think we should borrow that money right now?
at 2.6. Yeah.
No,
We're not paying interest on it unless we draw on it, according to what Deb just said.
Right.
yeah,
So
okay,
it's not costing us anything.
that's a little different situation.
So let's use the $500,000 and up off. So it doesn't go to gravel. Instead of that big road.
It's what?
What did you say?
Let's use that money, if you want to borrow that $500,000, let's use it on a road that's there now that needs work. Instead of a stub road that we might need someday.
I think that's for another discussion, and I understand what you're saying. But we budget for stuff, for roads, we're gonna go and look at roads, we're gonna look at stuff, see what we need to spend. And like we always have done, and then we spend it where we need to spend it right now. It's always been that way. And the point that she made that, for the other truck, if we don't have to borrow it and pay anything on it, is that correct?
Until we draw it.
Yeah.
Until we draw it.
Yeah.
I can understand that on that vehicle. But I also can understand we take ARPA money and pay back to us. Maybe then we could use that for roads or whatever. I don't know.
Why don't you
But
use the
something like
ARPA
that.
funds for the road?
What? For what? Why?
ARPA funds are approved for roads. You can
Okay.
use it for the roads this year and we don't have to borrow any money for roads.
That is another point of contention there. That could be. Well, let's get it back in the budget and spend it the way we want to spend it without having controls over us. Does that make sense?
We already put it in the budget that we were gonna borrow it.
We were gonna borrow, we put it in the budget to borrow $500,000?
No, 350 for our normal road
Yeah,
improvement.
I understand that.
Instead of.
But that's our normal process of
Instead of
doing it.
using that, use the ARPA fund.
Why don't we just put it, we have to control that fund, you know? If we can buy the fire truck the way it looks, but if we can't, that's a different situation. But getting the money back in our budget, to me, seems like the logical thing, so we can use it the way we need to use it, rather than having controls over how we spend it.
Yeah, if we do not borrow this year like we typically do yearly, does that ruin us for 23?
Yeah, we'll get ruined.
Huh?
You're gonna mess with your levy limit if you don't borrow this year.
Yeah.
If we didn't borrow it, yeah.
Mhm.
So if I understand what you're saying, Deb, is that we borrow it, say SOP, like we usually do.
Mhm.
And then is it somebody's plan or somebody's idea then to use the ARPA funds to pay that loan back?
You can't.
You can't pay back. the
That's what
loan.
I thought. Okay. So we'll just have to pay it like we would normally. Correct?
Which is through the levy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Can't do your levy.
So ARPA does not come into play at all with regards to borrowing the money for the roads.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
But we can, the way it looks, is that we could take that 250,000 from ARPA to pay for the fire truck, even though we paid for it already. Because it's during this year, so. And then we don't put in the, I can see, having a plan for the road to spending the $4,700 or whatever. That it could be done by whoever's gonna do it. Developer wise. And like I said, that'd put us at 250,000 back in our budget. And if we end up having to use that for roads, great. But, we still have to borrow the money. Maybe we could do a lot more projects then.
Yeah, but I don't think you're ever gonna get the interest rate that we've got right now.
We don't know that. You can't say the way the interest rates, look at the bonds did go up. There's no question about that.
Big time.
Treasury bonds.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
big jump.
But they're usually the first to go up, so.
I'll move approval of the borrowing needs for capital purchases and projects of 1.503, $758.65 million.
Motion by Duclay. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Second by Anders to approve borrowing of 1.503.758.65 cents. And I assume you were including in that to go with the 2.65 interest rate for
It's a
10-year period and to draw as needed.
as needed.
Is that correct?
Yes.
He's shaking his head. Discussion.
Yes. Question for Deb. E3 that we've currently paid for, that's gonna be coming, okay? Part of that money was for that vehicle, correct? The loan.
That you guys just approved?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was the second truck also in there?
You should
The
have
tanker.
a sheet that laid it all out.
Yeah, it's down the bottom.
We had all three
Let
other
me just borrow
trucks.
yours for a second, Mike. So it's the 2 trucks, the chipper,
It's 3 trucks.
3 trucks.
3 trucks, excuse me, yes. The chipper, the $4,700 for the,
No, I just made a note that that wasn't a budgeted item that you guys approved last time. That
oh,
47.
okay. So in other words, right now it's just the 3 trucks and the stub out.
And the chipper.
And the
And the
chipper.
chipper.
That's what I said, didn't it?
Chief,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you got any idea how much we can get from the sale of those trucks?
Right now, it's probably better to try selling them than in the past because people are having a hard time getting fire trucks. But like dollar value, I can't even speculate. They're all over the place right now when they're selling them.
Pre-depth, having to use a depth additive
Yes.
for the diesels.
Yeah, all pre-emissions, so people like buying them because they don't have the emission system on them. They can take the truck apart and keep just the chassis.
Yeah.
Do that.
So whatever this flexible loan that Deb's talked about, the biggest thing you're gonna have to decide up front is what the most you'd want to take would be, right? And so I would think that if there's some discussion about, or disagreement, I guess, about whether the net big intersection is the right place to use that 500, but there's also thoughts that there's other roads that should be rebuilt, then you should probably stay with that higher amount. And if you don't ever use that 500, it won't hurt anything, but it will hurt something if you do decide you need it for either of those projects and you
Well, plus we
can't get
can,
it.
plus we can use the value of the trucks that we sell to offset the loan.
Yeah.
Well, one truck is owned 100%.
I'm just saying, you know, whatever we discuss as a board.
I just look at putting, why don't we put the 255,600 back into our account? Because we can buy a fire truck. Then we still have 150,000 left if we want to do a park thing back down here or whatever, or put a few, things in parks like we talked about. Out of that money. But as far as I'm concerned, we got to make a decision that we're not going to put in the NADVIC intersection, period. And to put money that we can borrow so we can look at it in the future. I just.
If you don't.
The long-term truck, I
can
can see it. So what you're saying is that we're so far behind on roads that we would spend another $500,000 because we're so far behind on fixing our roads.
You could.
I said, are you saying we're so far behind on our roads?
We have roads that could certainly use.
We will have them forever.
You guys are going on a road inspection in a couple of weeks here, so.
That's a good point.
From Friday.
I'll show you.
Yeah. And he would like more money. I understand that.
And I understand that as well.
Not just
Yeah.
me, I mean, your taxpayers want it done, you know?
Yeah.
It's not me.
But we could be using 255,000 for that.
Well,
Some of it.
the 255,000 that we paid was not budgeted. It was budgeted to be reimbursed by a loan. So it's not like
Right.
when you put
Yeah,
the
either way.
250 back in there, you have 250 freed up in your budget. You used some of your budget money that you haven't spent yet this year to pay that, and you need it back to pay what you owe for the rest of the year. So it's not like you have.
So we're below our 20%. Is that correct?
We're barely on the
No.
line.
We're right there
So we don't have any backup funds there.
at this time.
Yeah.
I call the question.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carried. Get us the paperwork.
You get to ask for the next 3-year term.
Discuss and consider adoption of a resolution reappointing town treasurer for a 3-year term.
I don't know, I was,
Make the corrections in your motion.
I was half asleep when I was writing this or something. The resolution number should be today's date, and the last sentence, the now therefore, should be a term of office of 3 years, not 1, to commence on May 1st of 22 and expire on April 30th of 25. I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Williams, second by Duclay to approve Town Board Resolution 2022-4-18 with the change in the last sentence that now therefore the town or Cottage Grove Town Board hereby resolves that Deb Abel is reappointed to the office of Town Treasurer for a term of office of 3 years to commence on May 1st, 2022 and expire on April 30th, 2025. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discuss and consider increasing 2022 employee wage rates for inflation.
Yeah, I sort of thought that, I sort of said inflation last time. I don't even think this is about inflation. I think this is about doing the right thing for our employees to make sure we keep them and we don't go through a bunch of people going to other places over and over here.
Or not
Because I
being
think our people like working here. And it's, in a way, my thing would be to not hire the new position and go with giving Dan the ability to hire a college kid or somebody if he needs somebody this summer to mow lawns or whatever, or mow parks, and to allow him to hire somebody as needed to plow during the winter. And I think he's got somebody that he's even used before, as I recollect. I'm not even.
So you're talking about the without replacing?
Yes, no, not replacing the position, yeah. And then we can do the wages for the people. So it's a no cost, low cost situation to take care of the people we have right now.
So if I get this report right, replacing the 4th public works position is gonna cost us $17,000.
You're saving.
Oh, saving.
15.
So in other words,
15.
Maybe 15.
so if without replacing it, we can save 38,000.
Correct.
And he's looking at the total here.
And
At the bottom line.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
without replace, yeah.
yeah, but that's,
Or the cap.
Are you okay with that, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, we'll do it with 3 if we have to, 4 just makes it easier, but yeah. Andrew and I did it for a summer with just 2 of us. When Jeff retired and Matt left at the same time. We went May till August, just 2 of us.
and maybe next year we find out it ain't working, But
No, I agree with you. I mean,
it helps the budget.
If you only go with 3, then I would suggest you change the policy for the public works not to be able to take a vacation in the wintertime when snow has to be plowed. That's what we had in place prior to going to 4.
I suggest if you do that though, then you gotta relook at overtime hours. Did you
Well, I
change,
think
you
we
change
did it.
that at the same time?
I think that's for Dan to work out with his people. Because we are doing what I consider good for our employees, and I think somebody that thinks professionally would probably look at that a little bit more than they have in the past.
Well, you'd have a fourth person on call.
Yeah.
We have a fourth for big snowstorms, yeah.
That won't be tonight.
Oh, yeah, good point.
If it's like last time, we wouldn't need them, but.
So I'd make that motion. We go with replacing the, not replacing the fourth person and going along with the wage setup we got on this for all our employees.
I'll second.
Motion by Fongers, second by Duplay to go without replacing the fourth public works position and the associated wages on that sheet. Any
What
other-
sheet are you looking at, Chris? What sheet?
One that says without
Without.
placing.
Okay.
Replacing.
Replacing.
What are the wages though on that sheet?
20,
New rate for you would be 28. And same for Justin, 35 for Dan. Current, it's 22.
No, I just want to make sure I was on the same page.
And I think the case is, a little bit, you probably got to look at winters a little bit to maybe take some leave or whatever.
Yeah, I think
You know what I mean? I mean, you're
I think you got the three best guys you could possibly have.
doing a great job, and, that's up to you, Dan, and
I feel if you lose one of us, you're probably gonna have to hire two to replace one of us, so. Keep us happy.
Probably
We'll stick around.
give me that again.
So get on that, Dan. I mean, right now in the winter time, we really don't take any vacation. I mean, if we get to end of February and it's light snow, then possibly.
Yeah.
But, I mean.
Gotta look at it.
We really don't go anywhere in November through February, so.
Good for you.
So with going without replacing a fourth public works position, where are the funds for that part-time, or how do you want to term that person?
As needed snow removal.
Mhm.
Guy, is that what you're talking about?
or mowing in the summer.
I don't,
Yeah.
You guys need to think.
I don't think, honestly, in the summertime, I don't think we're gonna need that guy.
I suppose that's the question though, is how much do you need to pay the on-call snow guy?
$20 an hour, what?
I mean, it's gonna be an as needed on heavy snows only. Big snow events, well, how many do we get a year,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's shake of the day.
Yeah.
Question.
I mean, 2012, we had what, 4? And that was a bad winter, right? We had 4 big snowfalls that year.
Yeah. I mean, is he retired from the village?
Yeah.
Retired, so he is retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, that's who we kind of had on call this year if
Yeah.
we actually needed somebody, but. Yeah, I don't know, 20, 22. I mean, I wouldn't,
22 is kind of your starting wage at this point, looking at,
And that would be, if you're starting people at 22, you have a good deputy, not deputy, Danielle, the court clerk. And should she be at 22 if somebody just hiring is at 22? And then also I've been here for quite a while and also I'm getting paid less as well.
Oh, sure.
What did we do? What happened?
I'm just mentioning the other.
Other rates down through.
Danielle's actually saving you guys a lot of money compared to.
So what's the question? What?
She's getting paid less than what we're starting our new assistant clerk.
No,
No,
that
no,
now,
that's not true.
I've been here longer than the public works guys, and I'm making less. And also Danielle is the one that's, she's saving money from when Vicky left, and she's getting paid the same amount as somebody you're gonna hire brand new.
The deputy clerk.
Well, I've been
Well-
here 10 years longer than David. I don't know, that's kind of how it seems to go, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really complaining about what I'm making, but I'm saying that, it's always been that way, that the public works have always made more than the office. And that's just been the way it's always been. So,
See,
but I'm not
calling you
complaining.
at 2 a.m. Roads.
I can't drive a truck.
Well, I should get a raise because I get that call too.
Yeah, I call you at 2 a.m.
No, 911 does, though, when you don't answer.
Well,
So any changes or you good with that? What?
Well,
Obviously, we're gonna have to address this whole inflation thing one more time.
well, at budget time.
October.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm, it is what it is, sorry.
But no, she's got a point though.
She's got a
Does
point.
have a good point.
We can give her the same as the guy, it's 28, whatever,
Was that a motion?
Sure. I make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Fonger, second by Williams.
You had a motion on the table,
Yeah.
Well, this is
so.
an
I'll take that motion.
amendment to that
Amended,
first
yeah.
motion.
Okay.
It's an amendment to that.
I make the
first
motion to go along with this, but to also raise Deb's to $28 an hour.
And that was seconded by
Second.
Williams. So on the amendment,
Okay, so you had a motion by Fonger and Duplay.
right,
So
and
now,
then
No,
he
but
made
I-
an amendment.
I decline my second.
No, just
Yeah, you can keep it.
Just
Just
leave
keep
it.
it.
He's making an amendment to his first
Yeah,
motion.
so you just
So the
go along with it.
second- So this is the second motion, which we now have on the table to take action on, which was the $28. Is there any discussion on that? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Now we're back to the original motion, which was to go without replacing the fourth public works position.
And this new wage rate.
You want a motion on that?
So that was the
Yeah, we already made
original
it, right,
motion that you
right.
made and he
I second.
second.
Yep.
And we're done with discussion on that.
Yep, we're done with discussion.
So all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, aye. Motion carried. Public Works Department activity update.
Well, as you saw in the bill approval, we got all the new road signs. We got them put up, so we are compliant for another year.
Well, they're longer than that.
They last for 10 years.
Is that gonna be like a
Reflectivity.
steady replacement then?
Yeah,
Yeah, yep, every 10 years they get recycled. And then new ones put out.
reflectivity test.
I understand.
Next year, the bill's probably gonna be a lot lighter. We noticed there's not near as many of them with the 3 on them, so won't be as many to replace. Hopefully it doesn't snow too much because we got all the equipment off. Plows are still in the parking lot in case we need to hook up quick, but there will be no salting. So yeah, it better not snow anymore. And we're gonna get shouldering roads probably this week yet, if weather permits. So you'll see us out there getting some shoulders on. And I'm ready for you guys for the 29th. I got all my sheets done. I just gotta make copies. That's all I got.
Did anybody want to buy the 2 pieces?
Not yet.
Okay,
We'll probably have to put it on surplus.
all right. Clerk's office.
We had 491 total voters, 161 were absentee. Election went really smooth. The Sun Prairie School District did have a recount. We have 2 possible voters in the Sun Prairie School District. Neither one voted, so luckily I didn't have to go up. Other than I had to take some paperwork up to them for their recount, but I didn't have to help at least. So that's what I know about the election.
Question from them. This was in the packet for the sheriff's department, so we're gonna save about 38,000, right? Is that correct?
Which we can then move
Yeah.
for what we did earlier.
And that's
No,
just
that
because
was
we,
savings too.
this is another savings.
Brian
Yeah.
retired
So
before.
we saved a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
This year. So that stays in the budget somewhere, right? Yep.
Under wages.
No, because you're still saving on wages compared to the original budget. You're still saving
Right.
without applying to lose money.
So we could use that somewhere.
Still under budget because of Mike not being here and how much less Danielle works compared to the previous clerk. And the fact that you had probably budgeted for health insurance.
I did with a new hire, yeah.
Yeah. So we're still under budget even with all those changes for by what, 30?
38.
Well, maybe not quite that with the increase to Deb's, but yeah, by 38, you're still under.
Yes.
Oh, come on, you guys have this calculated out.
No.
That it?
Yeah.
Board reports and communications. We're still waiting on internet to get into Flint Hall. They haven't contacted Dan for scheduling it yet. They couldn't do it until it got warmer and thawed.
They marked it already, but he hasn't called me back, so.
Yeah. And once Deb is done with the loan, she'll be working on our report that we have to file by the 30th of this month. And that's all that I had. Emergency government.
Nothing. We got all 5 people. We're at the meeting and
Although I think that we should mention the fact that the village's response was kind of.
their SOP is all fluff. It's just nuts.
Instant click.
I'm sure he did that all on his own. I see they have a meeting this weekend. They're meeting by Zoom at their, like they're meeting with all their meetings still. They're all Zoom. I just don't understand it.
And we're working on getting all those phones switched over.
Which is gonna be a good deal. If it works out the way it sounds like it's gonna work out.
Supposed to.
Move, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by DeQuay, second by Williams for adjournment. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
That was a good meeting.
It was.
I agree.